I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to this Unitarian Universal service of the foothills of the Carolinas. Let me just remind you before we begin, if you have this little flyer, if not, I just want to remind us all, myself included, of our mission. It's printed on back here. The Unitarian Universal Fellowship of the Carolina Foothills seeks to promote an open, active, and welcoming community that recognizes the worth and dignity of each human being. In the ongoing search for truth, we embrace freedom of thought and encourage spiritual growth. Promoting love and social justice, we strive to be a force for good in our community. And right under that, you see a plea from our congregation, our community, to help out any way you can, reader, child supply, hospitality, whatever. So, there we go. A couple of short announcements, and then I'll open it to you all if you have any announcements. David, the owner of this facility here, please don't park across the street. Park over there, park over there, in the grass. Apparently the folks across the street don't want us parking on their grass. Okay. Well, all right. I don't see any visitors. I know most people here, so we'll skip that part. Do any of you all have any announcements to make? Yes.
We would love for anybody who has the time to come over on Saturday, September 9th, between 8 and 2, to help us with the garage sale. So the Ukraine benefit, you guys all know about it. Annie has volunteered to come over. Nick has volunteered to help us pick up more stuff. People are donating incredible amounts of stuff, and we will need help because David puts the signs out in the morning, and I'm left there all by myself. So anybody who can show up around 7:45, 8 o'clock would be great.
Here?
Where is it? It's at our house at 160 Caledonia Drive Road,
And what are the hours of the sale?
8 to 2. But we don't put the hours out, that's what we know. So anybody can see me afterwards. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other announcements? Don and then Lisa.
Rob McClaskey and I ride together, and on the way down here, he told me he celebrated a birthday Thursday. So, happy birthday to Rob, he's 102.
We won't ask how he got to be 102. What?
We just put in a name tags, but I think there are a couple other people that may need name tags. So if you do, let me know at the end of the service if we put in another order.
You not disappointed when you share.
All right. Any other announcements? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that I will miss all of you for the next few months. I'm going out to visit with my family on the West Coast, but I'll be back in February as well. So
Safe travels.
want y'all to know.
Safe travels.
Well, have a safe trip.
Safe travels.
Have a safe trip. All right. me open our service with these words. May we be reminded here of our highest aspiration, inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected to the universe, to this community, and to each other. I noticed that Bob and Nancy had to leave. So let's keep them. We're our joys. We're chalice lighting, though we'll talk about them when we get to our joys and our sorrows. But let's continue our service with our chalice lighting.
In looking for a quote about soul, there were tons of them. So I found 3 that I like. They have nothing to do with what's going on this morning, but I like them. And it is all about me. Ask Janice. Plato said that thinking is the soul talking to itself. And Bertold Auerbach, a German writer, said, music washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. I really like that one. And maybe my favorite one is by Anatole France, the French writer. Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened.
Oh, amen. That's the end of this. No sermon today. That was it right there. Join with me, please. We light this chalice, the light of truth. We light this chalice, the warmth of love. We light this chalice, the energy of action. We light this chalice, the harmony of peace. We are going to, and I should have said this earlier, announcement, there's only one hymn in our service today. And because we've got some other songs that we're going to play, we thought we'd limit it to one hymn. Now, if that really rubs you the wrong way, next time we'll have 2 hymns. So, and I'm serious, you know. I mean, I made an executive change there without consulting with the community. So if anybody wants to talk about that, we can. It's time in our service to share our joys and sorrows with each other as a way to build community and to know that we are connected and that what happens to any one of us is felt by all of us, whether it's a joy or a sorrow. So we can take this opportunity in our service to give you the opportunity to share your joys and sorrows with us. And somebody has a microphone, Nick has it, and he'll bring you the mic. Does anyone have something they'd like to share this morning?
I have 2. I hope we'll light a candle in memory of Jimmy Buffett. Not only was he an inspiration to us as parrot heads, I had my parrot head blouse on this morning, 2 parrots on it, but he was an avid environmentalist and did so much good work. We were lucky enough to be in Florida when he was working on the Save the Manatee campaign, and he was instrumental in getting that license plate printed, which has raised millions of dollars for conservation efforts in Florida. And he also lobbied in Congress about reauthorizing the Endangered Species Act. And so we really miss him, and we spent the day yesterday playing videos of his concerts and the music and all. And the second thing is, as of the end of August, there have been 470 mass shootings in this country, and that number does not include the recent mass shootings in Jacksonville at the Dollar General, because mass shootings are counted only if there's more than 4 people who are killed. And the other one, of course, was at UNC in Chapel Hill, the one individual there. So let's light a candle and hope that something sane is done about gun control in this country.
Thank you, Sally. The only song I know by Jimmy Buffett is Wasted Away in Margaritaville. And if you all want to hear it, we'll do it after the service, but not during. Chris.
Well, this is a little off color, but I just feel like since you only know that one song, I'll tell you the first song I ever heard with Jimmy Buffett. So I was doing pretty good at 24 years old, and then I decided I'd move to Hilton Head Island. And I got down there and I turned on the Savannah radio, and the first Jimmy Buffett song I ever heard was "My Head Hurts, My Feet Stink, and I Don't Love Jesus." And it's all been downhill for me since then.
And I should have mentioned his environmental quote that's so simple is that we all live in paradise, but paradise is in peril.
Thank you. Okay, that looks like it. Thank you for sharing. Let's have a moment of silence and lift up in our thoughts, prayers, and positive energy. What we just heard shared, but also recognize and acknowledge there are more than likely joys and sorrows that we just hold privately in our hearts. Let's think about those as well. One day a babe was born along the tiny helpless thing on the land, and Okie with his dreams out on high took the babe and held it proudly in his hand. The woman smiled with gentle smile whispered something softly in his ear, perhaps a little prayer to help the road in, perhaps the word of comfort through the fear. Here we go. You can trust the moon to move on the ocean. You can trust the sun to shine upon the land. You take a little action, though, and you do the best you can. And you save the rest for the quiet faith of a woman and a man. There's a storm-tossed ship tonight out on the ocean. This soul that's somewhere down on the blue. There's a dreamer with his eyes above the heavens. They're all looking for a way to make it through. You can trust the moon to mighty ocean. You can trust the sun to shine upon the land. You take the little that you know, and you do the best you can. And you save the rest for the quiet faith of a woman and a man. You save the rest for the quiet faith of a woman and a man. The reading this morning is in your hymnal number 664. And Terry, we're going to make a point to get together and practice with you sometime. And if anybody plays a musical instrument of any kind, I mean even the kazoo. I saw a sign the other day that said, if your children are unattended, we will give them a Red Bull and a kazoo. My grandson said, well, what's that all about? I said, well, if you ever saw a kid that had a Red Bull and a kazoo, I said, you wouldn't want to be around. Anyway, give us the spirit of the child. That's the name of this reading. Give us the spirit of the child. Give us the child who lives within.
The child who trusts, the child who imagines, the child who sings.
The child who receives without reservation, the child who gives without judgment.
Give us the child's eyes, that we may receive the beauty and freshness of this day like sunrise.
Give us a child's ears, that we may hear the music of mythical times.
Give us a child's heart, that we may be filled with wonder and delight.
Give us a child's faith, that we may be cured of our cynicism.
Give us the spirit of the child, who is not afraid to need, who is not afraid to love.
Thank you. And I realized I forgot our reading together for the offertory. Is it up there? It will be.
There you go.
Okay, let's do that. To the work of this fellowship, which is weaving tapestry of love and action, we call community. We dedicate our lives, and these our offerings. If I can get through this without crying, our grandson had a bad dream the other night, about 2 o'clock in the morning. And he came out of our bedroom with his teddy bear. Because I think his teddy bear has replaced his mother, who died. Let's talk about teddy bears. His name is Ryan, my grandson. And so sometimes in the mornings, when he gets up, his teddy bear, I'll talk to him through his teddy bear, say, Ryan, how was your morning? How was your night? And he talks to his teddy bear. And I'm sure most of you probably know this without me telling you. But for children, teddy bears aren't dead matter. They're living, they're alive, they have a soul, they feel, they think, they dream, they wish. And they're not just pieces of material stuff, but material. How many of you had teddy bears growing up? And you still have them? All right. I like to see that teddy bear. Ryan's had this teddy bear since he was about 2. He's 8 now, so he's had it a long time. And I told him I was going to borrow this morning. I had to assure him that I would take good care of it. Anyway, the teddy bear for the child is a living thing. It's animated. And I'm looking for my glasses. And here they are. The child doesn't relate to the teddy bear as much as it identifies with the teddy bear. It doesn't. The child doesn't distinguish the self from the teddy bear. It's an identification rather than a relationship. Because the child hasn't developed this notion of me, myself, and I, an ego, so that tends to be blurred in terms of this little teddy bear. But it doesn't have to be a teddy bear. I mean, it can be almost any object. Anybody in here ever had a pet rock? Yeah, Lane? Ernie, you had a pet rock? Okay. Any object in a child's world, doesn't have to be a teddy bear, it can be a stick or a rock or anything. Because children, particularly smaller children, have this intense identification with the environment around them, that everything is animated, everything's alive. In studying primitive psychology, Levi-Brule came up with the term participation mystique, because children in primitives, and I say primitives in parentheses, because maybe they're smarter than we are, had a sense to identify with the world around them and see soul in everything, see that everything was living and alive, that nothing was dead, nothing was ever an it or a thing for them. They feel a presence, as if there's a presence. The child feels secure, comforted, protected, by this either teddy bear or whatever they have that they cling to. Just as a child and its mother are one at the beginning, they become one with this teddy bear or whatever it is. For most of us, there's no sudden awakening to the fact that it's just a stuffed animal. That happens over time. We slowly get educated and learn that this is just a stuffed material with it's no different from a rag, really. It's just dead matter. We learn to withdraw as we grow older, to withdraw our feelings from the world around us. And in some cases, live totally in our heads, or become hyper-rational and don't think that feelings are appropriate for adults. It's only for children. We lose that childlike quality of seeing life and soul in the world around us. Did you know the word matter comes from the word mother? Yeah. Matter goes back to the Latin word for mother. So we've made that great shift and transformation in our way of thinking about the environment and the world around us. We don't think of it as mother. Even though we say Mother Nature, Mother Earth, people say, well, those are just metaphors. But science has given us not a world of mother, but a world of matter, a world of the it. And so our relationship to our environment is really transformed into an I-it. Somebody's talking to us. Instead of an I-thou, we tend to relate to the earth as an it. I love this poem. In my newsletter article, I said, children, primitives, and poets. I think a lot of poets still have that, are still able to connect to that childlike, primitive quality of relating to the world. I love this poem by Robert Frost about what science has brought us. Hear my rigmarole. Science stuck a pole down a likely hole, and he got it bit. Science gave a stab, and he got a grab. That was what he got. Ah, he said, qui va vie? Who goes there? And what are we to believe? That there is an it. An it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who deny science. But neither am I one of those people who absolutely put my trust in science. Science has done great things for us. Cures for illnesses, gasoline to put in our cars, computers and cell phones. And in many respects, we have science to thank for global warming. I don't put my full trust in science. Science has a light side, good side, it has a dark side. But science has brought us a world and a universe of the it, of matter, of dead matter. And we transitioned from that place of relating to the environment as a mother, really as a mother, as a nurturing source, to matter, to it, to an it. You know, you can tear and rip, you can dig, you can exploit this matter. But how would you feel if you were relating to the environment and the earth around you as a living thing, as a mother? How would you treat it? How would we treat it? I think our seventh principle is on the way to helping us reestablish that kind of thinking. The interdependent web of existence of which we are a part, not a part or separated from it, but a part of it. We're part of it. So this deep sense this child has that the world around us is not dead matter. This little stuffed animal is not dead matter. There's life in it. There's life all around us. And we feel into that. We don't just go at it with our heads. We feel into the world around us. We have this deep sense that everything in our world is living and animated, that nothing is really dead. You know, if you want to say it's God and everything, you can use that terminology. If you want to say everything in the world is sacred, you can talk about it in those terms. Or you can say that everything around me is living. And even this teddy bear, though it may be made of stuffed material, at once all that material was part of the earth. It came out of the earth. It was living. It's living, it's animated. So in my talk today, talking about recovering that childhood, that primitive, that sort of poetic way of relating to the world around us. I don't know about you, but I'm a firm believer in the unconscious. That so much of our daily lives, moment by moment, are affected by what we're not aware of. But we're still taking it in at an unconscious level. So that childhood experience, that primitive experience, has not gone away. It's just been submerged underneath this conscious, waking, scientific, theoretical way of viewing the world as an it. It's just submerged down under there. But I believe that it's not gone. It's still there. And we can awaken it or reawaken it and become more and more aware of how we are affected by everything that goes on around us all the time. It may be subliminal, that's the other word for the unconscious, but it's there and we're affected by it. You know, you're affected by this space right here the minute you walk in it. You may not be aware of how this space is affecting you, but it's speaking to you. It's speaking to you. Every face in this room is speaking. Every human gesture is speaking to you right now. Or this. Just think of how we're affected, oftentimes unaware, totally unaware of, where's my piece of paper? Lines. A man made millions of dollars off of that line. You may not be aware, but every face you look at is speaking to you. I can put some circles in it. But the child and the primitive and the poet senses a livingness, that everything has soul, everything is living, everything is speaking, everything has a face. The earth has a face. Everything on the earth has a face. What do I do with them? There they are. There's a quote by Gil Murray that I love, and there it is. Has it been up there all this time?
Yeah.
Good. You've had a chance to read it. I love this quote. I've kept it in my pocket of my brain for a long time. Reason is great, but it's not everything. Now, every time you see reason, think science too. Science is great, but it's not everything. Science is great, but it's not everything. There are in the world things not of reason, not of science, but both below and above it. Okay, you want to call it unconscious, whatever, superconscious, above it or below it. Causes of emotion we cannot express, which we tend to worship, which we feel, perhaps to be the precious things of life, like teddy bears. These things form gods or gods, things which bring man bliss or tear his life to shreds without a break in their own serenity. Things that just we cannot comprehend, but yet we're still affected by these, at this emotional level. Neurologists have basically proved there's no rationality without emotions. And emotions have slowly become more primary. So these childlike qualities and these so-called primitive qualities that are below our conscious mind are primary. They're the primary way we relate to the world. Rationality and reason are secondary. They're built on top of these deep, deep feelings we have about life and each other. Deep, deep feelings. And when we get to those depths of those feelings, what we realize is that we are all connected. And we're all connected to the environment. And what Sally was saying, what we do to the environment, we do to ourselves. What we do to Mother. Now nobody, if they're related to the earth, as if it were their real mother, would tear it up the way we're tearing it up. They wouldn't destroy their own mother. And yet we're doing that. And I don't know what's going to stop it. I have a theory that typically humans don't change unless there's some kind of past history. I hate to think that way, but it's the way I think. That humans will not change unless there's some catastrophic event that forces them to change. And I believe in my heart of hearts that Mother is speaking to us. Mother is talking to us. And she's telling us, stop what you're doing before it's too late. Now, you may be like me. I think I just throw up my hands and say, what can I do? I'm just an individual. I'm just one person. Well, and you don't have to do what I do. And you don't have to do what my wife and I do. But we try our best not to use plastics anymore. We take cloth bags to the store. And they'll start shoving our stuff in the plastic. I'll say, I don't, I got my bag. Thank you, but I've got my bag. We hang our clothes out on the clothesline. Now again, I'm not saying you have to do what we do. You don't have to do that. But what I say is if millions of human beings on this planet turn their air conditioner down 2 notches or turn their heat up in the winter one notch, just think of that, 1 million people doing that. Everyone doing that. Everyone doing their little part. So we don't feel like, oh my God, there's nothing I can do. But I'm getting off the subject, aren't I? But I think it's that feeling until it hits that feeling level. That's when it really hits us, when it hits that feeling level. And as much as our conscious adult minds live in this it world, I think these powerful feelings are still there in the depths of all of our psyches. Just because these deep impressions may not break through doesn't mean they're not there. I was thinking about the word influence and the word impression, things that influence us. You know that I look that word. I'm always looking words up to see where they came from. The etymology. Well, influence is just inflow. It comes back to the Latin word inflow. So the world out there is flowing in. It's flowing in. We're being influenced. Impression is, making an imprint, impression, pressing upon something. So we're being influenced and impressed, having impressions made upon us all the time by the environment around us, but we're not always conscious of them. And I think for some people, unfortunately, it's better to remain unconscious of them. You don't want to know. There's two things to remember about the unconscious. There is the unconscious, and there's a lot of us human beings that would like to remain unconscious and not be aware. Because sometimes you just don't want to be aware. But, that question brings up to me, we have this assumption that we have this inner world inside here and this outer world out there. And that that everything inside of me exists, in terms of my thought, exists between these two temples up here in my skull. And that's the inner world. And then there's the outer world, and we're separate from that world. Well, I was thinking about how in the world do we think we know that? We assume it. We presuppose that my inner world stops at my body. And the outer world begins outside of my body. But we don't know for sure where that line is, where the inner world stops and the outer world begins. And to me, children and primitives, that doesn't exist. That there's a constant flowing. The world is entering in, what we call in. Our thoughts are entering out. Maybe thoughts travel. My grandson said, is there anything, probably says, is there anything faster than the speed of light? And I said, well, maybe thoughts are. Maybe thoughts are faster than the speed of light. I can be thinking about Nick. Bam, right there it is. So, I think for children, for primitives, for poets, that world is always kind of blurred. What's inside of me? What's outside of me? The world is flowing in all the time. I may be up here in my head, this, hyper-rational, or I may be down here in my heart, or even in my gut, feeling. But what's that song? You gotta hide your feelings. Remember that song? The circus came to town. The clowns, the old members. Anyway, I just couldn't stand that song because it said you gotta hide your feelings. Huh? Was it Hemingway? I don't know. Somebody, but you gotta hide those feelings and emotions. But they live, they move, they exist. I believe there's something deeply spiritual wrong with the way we're living, the way I'm living. I can't help but to think that there's something deeply spiritually missing in the way we live. And I believe it has to do something with recovering, trying to recover that childlike qualities that we all have. That realize that we're not separate human beings, we're connected. What happens to you happens to me. What you feel, I feel. What you suffer, I suffer. What you celebrate, I celebrate. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up here. one of my favorite poems by English romantic, and if you don't know by now, I'll confess to you that I am a romantic. I'm not an enlightened philosopher. I'm a romantic, maybe to my own detriment, but I'm a romantic. My grandson and his friend were chopped down a tree the other day in the woods, and they said, "Papa, we would show us a tree chopped down." And I said, "Okay, I'll let you chop down this one." They said, "No, we want to chop down that one." I said, "Well, that tree's alive." I said, "Let's don't chop that one down." And they said, "Well, what's wrong with that?" I said, "Well, for me, here I go, I have this strange feeling that this tree knows you're killing it. And it feels you're killing it." And they're looking at me like, anyway, I got them chopped out a dead tree. They never got it, but anyway. This feeling that things feel, that things feel, that even sometimes when I'm driving my car, I'll think, what's the car feeling when I'm speeding down the road? But anyway, I love this poem by the English romantic writer, William Wordsworth. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply infused, whose dwelling is the light of the setting sun, and the round ocean, and the living air. The air is alive, the living air, in the blue sky, and in the mind of man, and woman. A motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. A child's perception of the world is not simply a matter of sensation. Perception for a child is more what we call a feeling, an emotion, a feeling into life, and not being afraid to feel those depths, those emotions. This way of identifying with life is basic and primary, and our rational logic way is secondary to that. It comes after. So if you feel the ground you're walking on is alive and feels you walking on it, if you feel like the bug you just smashed felt the pain as it was dying, if you feel that the tree you just cut down wept because it was dying, if you feel these walls can hear what you're saying and these windows have eyes, don't dismiss those feelings and thoughts. They're real. Thank you. Think about it. It's in all of us, but it's not an it.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us. Just remember, it's like I've been sleeping for years. I'm not awake as I could be, but my seeing is better. I can see through the tears. I've been realizing that I bought this ticket and I'm watching only half of the show. But the scene